The 2026 Philadelphia Eagles. This roster is just loaded beyond belief. When you look at rosters who just have talent upon talent upon talent upon talent, Philadelphia is one of the first that come to mind because their defense has so much going for it. An unstoppable front with really dynamic linebackers in a scary secondary. Their offense line is still really good. Receiver room still loaded with talent. Maybe the best running back in the NFL, and a quarterback that can engineer the team to the right direction. But it almost feels like the Eagles are being slept on a little this year. Everyone's looking at the Rams, the Seahawks, the NFC West. But this Eagles team still has a lot of talent. So why exactly are people overlooking the Philadelphia Eagles? Well, today, I'm going to preview the 2026 Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm going to talk about why I believe many people are overlooking this squad. The Eagles made a couple moves in free agency, including a trade. Braden Mann is a solid punter. Reek Woolen, I think, is an interesting pickup as I love him in man-to-man coverage, but I've never really cared for him as his own coverage corner. I think he gets a little bit out of position too often there, and as we saw in the NFC Championship game against the Rams, he will make some boneheaded mistakes, but he is extremely talented, and you give him the right coach like a Vic Fangio, he may bring out the best in him. Then you bring in Hollywood Brown, who I have been notoriously not his biggest fan in the NFL, but he plays really well with Jalen Hurts' ability, as Jalen Hurts is a tremendous deep ball thrower. You can get him the ball more often when you look at it that aspect. But again, I'm not really holding out hope for a great Hollywood Brown season. Arnold Ebiketie, talk about a miss for me personally in the draft process. I was so excited when he was entering the league. A fun, twitchy edge rusher, just never achieved the heights I thought he would in Atlanta. Maybe going to Philadelphia can unlock some stuff, but I overall don't expect at this point. And they made a big-time trade bringing in Jonathan Grenard, who, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated edge rushers in the NFL, as he can provide a good pass rushing ability and a good run stuffing ability, and can really be the guy for the Eagles defense to apply pressure off the edge and really help on those crucial second downs, those crucial third downs, put quarterbacks on their back in the turf. That's what they really need to do. But the Eagles offseason wasn't really done with that. They lost a major piece of their team, and everyone pretty much saw it coming. We all were just waiting for the date that A.J. Brown could be traded, but he was traded to the New England Patriots. And hey, they got a first-round pick for him. That's not too bad considering A.J. Brown is a aging receiver, and his contract is pretty massive. But it does hurt the Eagles now because A.J. Brown is an extremely talented receiver who played extremely well with Jalen Hurts' playstyle of that deep ball receiver that can get open and make the plays when the ball's in the air. And I don't know if the Eagles have their next guy to fill in that role because their rookie, and I'm just going to spoil a little bit before I talk about the draft, Mekhi Lemon, doesn't really play that way. And that's a big thing is when you look at Jalen Hurts, he's a deep ball thrower. You need those types of guys. A.J. Brown works so well because he can do it. Devonta Smith is really good with Jalen Hurts because Devonta Smith is a good deep ball receiver. It's why I like the Hollywood Brown signing to an extent because I'm not the biggest Hollywood Brown fan, but he fits the quarterback. So the real key for me with the Eagles this year is how do they replace A.J. Brown, or do they just go a completely new direction and try to change up their offense and change up Jalen Hurts' play style? That's a big key for me right now. Now, when I look at the Eagles draft, I like a lot of the guys they took, but I'm questioning how mainly one of them fit into their offense and mainly with their quarterback, as I'm sure you can tell based off my last little bit in this video. But I do want to save Mekhi Lemon for last because I think he's the most interesting player they drafted. Now, I did not watch any other 7th round picks. I did not watch Keyshawn James Newberry, UR Bernard, or Cole Wisniewski. Didn't watch them. Wisniewski, maybe I saw a little of him, and that was when he was really coming up to play the run, but that's around it. Micah Morris is very interesting for me because he's very smart. You can watch him when he's setting up everything. You can watch him when he's playing the game of football. He knows how to play the position very well, and he's got good power. He's got good movement. I am shocked he was available in the 6th round, and he's going to a team that's notably been very good at developing offense linemen. but they lost their offensive line coach in Stoutland. And that's a big issue for me when I look at offensive linemen now going to Philadelphia is we don't have the best offensive line coach in the league there anymore. So how is he going to develop? How are they going to work with him? We don't know. It's going to be very interesting, but you got to like his potential when you just watch him play the game of football. He clearly understands it, and he clearly is a traitsy guy. Up next, one of my favorite quarterback picks in this entire draft class is Colt Payton. The Eagles are not afraid to take the shot on the high-risk developmental quarterback. We saw this with Jalen Hurts a couple years ago. We've seen it many, many times. And I'm not saying Colt Payton was as good of a prospect as Jalen Hurts, but I'm saying I see the vision for it. Because if Colt Payton can come in and say Hurts gets injured and has to play games and looks good, that is a draft pick that's much better than a 5th-round pick coming your way. He is talented. He's got a good arm. He has some good touch in the football. He's just got to really work on his mechanics, and he's not going to be asked to play a lot in Philadelphia unless worse comes to worse and injuries happen. So you can really take your time, develop and work with him. You have a former backup quarterback as your offense coordinator now who has much, much experience working in that room. He will be good for development of Colt Payton. Now you also look at Mark Bell, a freakishly gigantic offensive lineman size. His just measurables, and I gotta read them off because I remember the draft process, like, he's just so much bigger than everyone else. 6'9", 346. He gets his hands on you, you ain't going nowhere. And you can try and push him, it's gonna be like pushing a giant oak tree. It's not budging, but you are gonna get exhausted going up against that. But technically, he's not there yet. He can get beat with his hands. He can get just off balance. He can get beat. And if he gets his skills refined, and him and Micah Morris could really be like some gems for the Eagles, if they can get their new O-line coach to really work with them like Stoutland could, they might be gems that the league is terrified for the next decade plus. Eli Stowers. This might be my favorite pick they made just because I was such an Eli Stowers guy. He was my number 1 tight end in the entire draft process. I thought as a receiving tight end, he was so underrated. He just wasn't as physically gifted as Kenyon Sadiq. But I just watched him at Vanderbilt over and over again. He's the perfect seam tight end target. He's the perfect deep tight end target. And what's something I said in this video earlier? You need to replace A.J. Brown with guys that can get the ball deep. Eli Stowers can do that very, very good. I think this is a tremendous pick, and I also think he has potential to grow in to being a better blocker. But he's just so explosive that he's going to be dynamic in that offense. And lastly, Makai Lemon. Now, Makai Lemon is a player I was very high in the draft process. Everything I'm about to say about him is not a negative. I thought he was the best zone beater in this draft. I didn't think he was the best man coverage beater, and a big reason why that is I watched that Notre Dame film, and I really got nervous when it came to that. But every other team he beat them like a Cherokee drum over and over and over again. He's got good speed, he's got good route running ability, he has a really good bag, but he's not the best deep ball receiver, and that's where I start to get a little worried because, as I mentioned throughout this video, Jalen Hurts thrives off the deep ball. If you are not a great deep ball receiver, you will not get as many targets, you will not get as many yards compared to a guy who will go downfield. And the Eagles could 100% be adjusting their offense with Sean Mannion as their new offense coordinator. I acknowledge that 100%, but there comes the question of, can you change your offense to include Makai Lemon and still keep high-level play from Jalen Hurts when he excels at the deep ball so much? That's my big question, is if you're trying to include your first-round pick into being the guy, are you lessening your quarterback who is the most important guy on your roster? And that's where I'm really confused about this pick. If Lemon can just play football at the Makai Lemon level, this will be an excellent pick for the Eagles. But if they try to force him into being that deep ball receiver that he's not the best at, I see issues coming up for him and the Eagles offense as a whole. Now, to start out, I have the Eagles winning their division. I have them hosting a playoff game, and I might have them winning a round, depends on their matchup. And the reason why I just don't have them in that Super Bowl contendership, and they could very much prove me wrong because this roster is very talented, It's Nick Sirianni, man. I don't think highly of him as a head coach, and I honestly hope, and I don't like saying this about people, but I hope he's fired. He is holding this roster back. He's holding this entire team back. Howie Roseman's one of the best GMs in the NFL. Vic Fangio is one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL. They have carried him to the Super Bowl. They won it. Congratulations. Oh, you lose Kellen Moore. Well, your offense goes in the tank because you don't know how to hire a new guy and you're not competent enough as an offense coach to really overcome that. And that's the big issue. I don't know if Sean Mannion is going to be great or not. I don't. I have a feeling he'll be better than Kevin Patullo, but if we're going off a Kevin Patullo bar, that's not that high. And I just look at this Eagles team and think it's just missing that coach. Whether you just need to find a new head coach somewhere else, or maybe you even just promote Vic Fangio at this point, anybody would be better than Nick Sirianni because he's going to hold this team back until he is fired. And the Eagles, you fire him, how many coaches are going to want to take that job? How many guys will just be like, I will go to Philadelphia, win a couple Super Bowls, retire, have a great post-career of coaching because everyone will want to talk to me on TV. I'll get a nice broadcasting job because I won Super Bowls with a loaded roster built by Howie Roseman, and I didn't have to do a whole lot because I'm more competent than Nick Sirianni. That's how I view this team. And who knows? Maybe they'll come out. Sean Mannion, like I said, could be this amazing guy, and he elevates this roster like we saw with Kellen Moore, where this offense is clicking because Sirianni's got nothing to do with it. But then comes the issue of, when does Nick Sirianni mess up? He got lucky during this last Super Bowl run, and their team just dominated everyone to the point it didn't become an issue. But they're not the most talented team in the NFC. That's the Rams. And you could argue the Seahawks are above them, and maybe the 49ers. Those two teams, at the bare minimum, the Seahawks and Rams, are going to run the NFC until Sirianni is fired. And as talented as this Eagles roster is, as much as I think of Howie Roseman, as much as I think of Vic Fangio, as much as I think of just the Eagles in general, including their fan base, which makes playing in Philadelphia a hellhole, they will always underachieve with Nick Sirianni as their head coach. I'd like to say thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you share this, I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm doing 32 in 32 days. 32 NFL team previews in 32 consecutive days. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you check out some other team previews, and I hope y'all have an amazing day.